You deleted the apps, you cleared the history. Maybe you even blocked yourself from certain platforms. I know, you set timers, you made rules, maybe you made it for a few days. Even a few weeks, you stayed clean. And then one night alone, one hard day, one moment of feeling rejected, or just numb. And before you even made a conscious choice, you found your way back to the loop. And faster than expected. And you said what you always say, I'm just weak. I always do this. I just can't stop. Well, today I want to talk to you about that. And I want to tell you something. That story you keep telling yourself, it's not the truth. All right? It's not an absolute truth. It's just a story, and it's the problem. Now, before we get into this really, really quickly, I just want to tell you to please like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And also, you can download the Kink Shame Exit Kit for free at the link in the description. It's actually a really good tool because it's giving you a real gap between the urge and acting on it. All right? Now let's get into today's video. Okay, before I go into the psychology of this video, I want to share with you something from my own experience. Something from when I was a senior in high school, and my dad took me on the side to have a serious conversation with me, all right? He asked me, what do I really want to do in my life? And I really took a few minutes before I answered to him totally honestly. And I told him that I want to sing, that I really love music and I would love to do that for the rest of my life. And then he looked at me with this expression that I still remembered very vividly in my mind. Kind of like a mix of disappointment and like cringe, you know? And he told me this. You have some talent, but it's kind of not enough. You're not that good. So, Rux, if you follow this path, you have all the chances in the world to become a failure and a loser. So you should find something more stable, like being a teacher. I was totally devastated, guys. And in that moment, without even realizing it, I made a decision. I told myself that if I can't do what I actually want, I don't even care what I'm going to do. So I went to the university and I studied mathematics because it happened that my boyfriend back then was doing exactly that. But the thing is, I never stopped chasing music because that was my dream always, since I know myself. And I went in band and then another band and band after band after band. And every single one of those bands, I broke. Not on purpose. I didn't just sit down deciding, I didn't just sit there deciding that I want to just break all these projects and destroy them. But every time we got close enough to matter, something in me made sure we're just not going to make it. And the last one that I had was here in the United States, a band with real potential and with people that actually believed in us and believed in me. And we were just there, like right there about like right before releasing our first album. And then I did it again. I f***ed up everything. So after that, I had to take a real break of a few years actually to do some inner work and understand what's actually happening in here. Because I used to say that I was cursed, that everything I touch just goes to total and obviously it wasn't that. I was not cursed. It was just that one sentence from that one conversation with my dad. You're not good enough to have the thing you love the most. So I swallowed that as a fact. And the deep emotional impact, the deep, 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 deep hurt, it felt like my wings got broken. And then I spent years without knowing it, making that sentence true. That I'm not worthy to have what I love. And I wasn't fighting to fail. I wasn't trying to. But that belief was creating the behavior, the self-sabotaging, every single time without asking for my permission. So yeah, That kind of mechanism is exactly what I want to talk to you about today. Now, here's the one sentence that I really want you to grasp today. Like, really pay attention to this because this is an actual truth. You cannot create results that are bigger than your beliefs. You can't. You just can't. No, I didn't say it's hard or that you won't. No, you just can't. All right? Think of it like this. Imagine your mind is a GPS and you type in a destination, the confident, the free, the connected version of you, the man who has real relationships, real intimacy, right? Who's not hiding, who feels finally at peace. Yeah, that lane of the confident you. And then you hit navigate, hit take me there. But somewhere deep in the code, there's this saved home address that says, I can do it. I'm someone who can't stop. I'm not worthy of being loved. I always end up back here. And then the GPS, no matter how clearly you put the address you want to go to, the destination, into the GPS is always going to take you back home every single time. The code overrides the intention every time. That's what was happening with me and the music. My intention, my desire, my destination was very clear, and I did not give up. I kept moving towards it. I kept taking action. But my code said, yeah, you don't get to live this. You're not good enough. You're going to fail. Somehow you will. So the GPS, my GPS, kept taking me back. And through my own hands, I did that. All right. And that is not a metaphor. That is literally how your brain works. It's actually a part of your brain. There's this system in your nervous system that's called the reticular activating system. And that part's job, RAS job, is to filter your reality through the lens of what you already believe. So it decides what you see, what it feels possible, what actions feel natural, and which ones feel like you. So if you believe you are someone who can't stop doing something, your brain will find every piece of evidence in your day to confirm it. And it will filter out quietly, but surely, everything that says otherwise. It's a part in your brain. That's why deleting apps doesn't stick. That's why going cold turkey breaks down. And NoFap, for most of you, you told me this yourself, eventually fails and worse than before. You are trying to change the behavior while leaving the belief underneath completely unquestioned, completely untouched. And the belief will always win. Make no mistake. Because the belief creates the behavior. Now I'm going to do something that's probably going to make you feel a little uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to read back to you what you told me in your exact words. All right? Because I want you to see clearly the gap between what you say you want and what you actually believe. I know this because I asked hundreds of you directly, and the consistency of your answers, the consistency of this pattern really struck me and continues to struck me because I see it every day. You can actually even see it in my comments. You told me you want real intimacy, a woman who accepts me, to feel normal and loved. But you also told me I always feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I'm not worthy of being loved. See the gap? You're trying to build real intimate connection from a foundation that says you don't deserve it. That's like me trying to build a music career from the belief that I didn't have what it takes. Yeah. I kept showing up, I kept playing, but the belief kept making me sabotage everything and f it up somehow. So yeah, the desires are real, the seeds are real, but those seeds cannot take root in a ground that is dry. That's barren. That's hard. You told me that you want to feel confident. You told me that you want better dating experiences, a real connection. While you also told me that I'm terrible when it comes to speaking with women that I'm attracted to. I'm afraid this will ruin my future career and possible relationships. So just let's pause on those words, you guys. You say ruin and terrible, and those are verdicts. You're not just describing casually something that's happening. Your nervous system is executing a verdict every single time you're in front of a woman you actually want to connect with. Because you said it. You told me you want more self-control. You told me you want to stop falling back into the loop. And you also told me what feels most true now, which is I feel weak when the urge hits. And I want to stop here a little bit because actually this came up more than almost anything else. I feel weak when the urge hits. Not I have an urge, but I am weak. And the moment you say that, you have made the urge more powerful than you. You handed it authority inside that sentence itself. And see, that is the belief running the GPS, and it will always win every single time. Here's another one. You told me what you want. To feel connected to myself, to stop hiding. And you also told me I cannot connect with my true inner feelings and identity. I'm constantly trying to join new tribes and always coming home alone. The exhaustion of that. The exhaustion of performing, of trying on versions of yourself that never quite fit, of looking for belonging out there when you don't feel yet at home in here. And guys, I know the feeling. I spent years in bands. Sorry. I spent years in bands surrounded by people and really trying to build something real. But I was trying to do that while the belief underneath kept making sure I wouldn't make it. I couldn't do it. And then this one, all right? And I really want us to sit with this one. You told me you want to break free, to finally change, and to stop the loop. And then you told me what you think is the real reason why you're still stuck. And that is the eternal loop of trying to stop, failing, and feeling bad, and starting over. You're not describing a habit. That is a description of an identity. I'm someone who loops, fails, and starts over. I feel that. I was someone who joins bands and breaks them. You're someone who tries to stop and can't. Yeah, it's a different situation, but the mechanism is the same. It's the same belief doing its job. And as long as that story lives in your body as a fact, your brain will write it into your own life, and not just once, over and over and over. That's why it's feeling so sticky. It's feeling so hopeless. Because that's what brains do. They just follow the story you believe about yourself. Okay, now I want to explain to you the brain mechanism, the neuroscience behind it, because I think once you understand that this is actually a mechanism, you stop feeling like it's a flaw of you, like your brain is broken. It stops feeling like a personal failing, you know? So here's the first thing. And again, this is a truth, all right? It's just how brains work. The identity creates the behavior. Always. Every action you take is like a vote for a type of person, all right? If you believe at your core that you are someone who can't stop, well, every relapse doesn't just break a rule, it confirms who you believe you are. My relapses into self-sabotage were not just coming out of nowhere. They were just confirming that I'm not the one who gets to keep what I love. The brain is being consistent with the stories that we are carrying. Always. Always. And the second thing, the shame you're feeling is also feeding the loop, right? The gap between who you want to be and who you believe you are, that creates like real pain, like neurological, psychological pain. And your brain, which is wired above everything else to just protect you from pain, is going to reach for the fastest available relief, which is the loop, because it gives you that immediate gratification, which is short and it doesn't last a lot. So then the shame about the loop drives you into the loop. And that's how the loop deepens. And then the shame hits harder and it's just like such a madness. It just keeps getting worse. And you said it yourself in your own words. You said, I tend to look when I'm lonely or depressed. Then I get more depressed and I isolate myself and I start to feel numb to it, but I can't stop. That is a nervous system doing exactly what nervous systems do. Inside a belief system that makes escape feel impossible. And I'm going to tell you what that is not. It's not a character flaw that you can't address. Then I also want to address another thing, the willpower. Because I feel like it's very misunderstood. Guys, willpower was never built for this. Okay, yeah, willpower is a resource, but it's a limited one. So you only have so much willpower, which means at some point it's going to get depleted. As you probably noticed, willpower fails when you're stressed, when you're lonely, when you feel rejected, late at night, after a hard day, when you're bored. Yeah? Sounds familiar? Well, that is exactly what you told me triggers the loop. Yeah, you deleted everything and came back. You blocked yourself on every platform and found your way around it in minutes. You made rules and talked yourself out of them the same day. That's what happens when you paint over a stain in the ceiling, but you never fix the leak in the roof. Yeah, it's going to hold up fine while it's sunny, but the first time it rains, you have a hard day, you have a lonely day, you feel rejection, that numb feeling late at night. That's when the water comes through again. The same spot, same stain every single time. Why? Because you were trying to treat the symptom with willpower, but you see the source, the leak, was never touched. That's why changing the belief doesn't actually require willpower. And it works even before the urge hits. When you genuinely believe something different about yourself, the rain doesn't reach the ceiling. There's nothing left to stain. When you genuinely believe something different about yourself, the urge loses its oxygen. And it may not happen overnight, not immediately, yeah. Not perfectly, but permanently. Okay? And then you also have to understand this, that the brain does get rewired. But it's always coming from the inside out, from the identity level. The identity has to shift first. Because neuroplasticity is a real thing, okay? Which means the new neural pathways form, indeed, but through new, repeated, emotionally real experiences. You cannot build a new pathway by fighting the old one. Force doesn't work. You build it by acting from a new identity, even before you fully believe it. Every time you close the screen, you reach out to a real person, you sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you are laying a new architecture in your brain. And that's why people say fake it till you make it, okay? This expression is rooted exactly in this mechanism. When you approach change from inside out, at the identity level, things start feeling easier and more natural. And the biology is going to follow the behavior. The behavior follows the belief. So the belief has to change first. And then, now, some actionable things that you can start implementing as soon as today. First one, very important. Observe your self-talk, your identity sentences, and what you say about yourself. All right, so this week, notice every single time you say out loud or even in your head, I'm someone who, I always do this, I can never. All right, and make a list. Write them down. Write down that list of verdicts you accepted a long time ago and you never put on trial. You never questioned those. I'm someone who can't stop. I'm not the kind of man and women really want. I'm broken in a specific way. I need to have six-pack abs to be liked by women. My verdict was I'm not good enough to have what I love the most, to be in a band, to experience my dream. That is a story. That is not a fact. They can be rewritten. They can be rewritten think of a brain like a computer that has apps, right? And apps can be uninstalled or they can be upgraded, right? But you cannot change those apps by looking at the screen. No, you actually have to go in there and go to the control panel or whatever in settings and actually press those buttons to uninstall or to upgrade. Then, the next thing I want you to do is to separate yourself from the urge. All right, so the next time you feel the urge, the next time it hits you, instead of saying to yourself, I feel weak, say, I notice I have an urge. Just that single shift from being something to observing something, okay? You are not the urge. You are the one watching it. And the one who can watch from a little distance actually has a choice. Trying to suppress an urge is like gritting your teeth and trying to bury it. And burying it doesn't change the belief. The belief is going to still be there. It's going to still run the GPS code, still rerouting you back home to the shame lane. When you observe the urge instead of becoming it, something shifts, something changes. You understand you're no longer inside of it. You are watching it. And in that space between the urge and the action, which by the way is what the Kink Shame Exit Kit does, that is a choice. That choice is your vote for the belief you want to install. And then 3, the last thing I want to share with you is you got to just start casting votes, okay? You don't have to fully believe the new story before you start living it. You just need to start casting votes. And you need to just start with one vote. One moment of choosing the future version of you over the familiar one. One choice of closing the screen, of reaching out to a real person, of sitting with the discomfort instead of medicating it, instead of numbing it. All right? Just one vote. And once you do that, then you get another one. And then you do another one and another one. And you don't give up. Because the man you described in your own words, the man you want to be, in control, calm, able to choose, not ashamed of what I choose, he actually exists inside of you as a real possibility. I want you to know that. He's already there. And he's not waiting for the loop to stop. He's waiting for you to start acting like him. Even badly at first, even imperfectly, even while part of you still doesn't believe it. It will. Trust me. The belief is going to build in the doing, not before. By doing again and again and again without ever giving up. Okay? Now, before we close this video, I want to leave you with something, okay? Because I know this from the inside. I've spent years breaking bands that I absolutely loved because of that one sentence my father told me and made me believe it's a fact about myself. I was not cursed. I wasn't just broken things because I was cursed. I was living inside a belief that I didn't know I was carrying. I was operating from a belief I carried because it hurt, and it hurt me a lot. And when I finally stopped fighting the behavior and I looked at the belief underneath, that's when things started shifting for me. That pause I took of a few years, it wasn't me giving up on my dream. I was just trying to be honest and look at the things in an honest way and accept my responsibility, that it is my responsibility to take the magnifying glass and look at the beliefs and my patterns and to address them, because I was creating those outcomes through my beliefs. And you don't loop because you're cursed either or broken, okay? You go into these loops because you've been using willpower to fight something that willpower was never built to fight in the first place. What you need is a new identity built one honest action at a time, all right? That is going to build an identity that's going to beat any urge. Okay? Now listen, if you watched until now, I want you to know that you're already ahead of the problem because most men never make it to this point. So, I need some proof, okay? Leave me one word in the comments because I want to see which ones of you stay with me and the message. My word for this episode is belief. And listen, if you feel generous, tell me in the comments also what beliefs no longer serve you and what belief you are absolutely ready to let go of as soon as today. Because that's where the real shift starts. And you're going to see that if you start listening to me and you start following my instructions, your life has no other option but to change. And that is what everything, where all the money are. All right? Also, download the King Shame Exit Kit at the link in the description. It's free and it's actually a tool that gives you that gap between the urge and the act on it. That gap is where the new votes happen. That gap is where the choice actually lives. And also like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And please consider supporting us on Patreon for if this mission speaks to you. All right. Oh my God, do you guys hear the weird noises my stomach makes? Anyways, I love you and I'll see you in the next one.